Well, hello, everybody. I'm Ed Parcaut, and this is Helping the Brave. Amy Tiemeyer is out helping vets today through the Travis Manion Foundation that she's part of, and so she won't be here. So you just get my pretty face today. We have a Marine coming on and I want him to tell his story, but I want to thank everybody who's been part of the show, who's been on in the past. If you want to support us, the easiest way you can support us is actually subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'd really appreciate that, and let veterans know that we're here and we want to hear their story, because it's important that more vets know what's going on, how other vets have gone through things. And enough about me talking. Let's get to our guest today. And it's Brandon, and it's Rumbaugh.
Correct. Rumbaugh. Yes, sir.
I'm the worst at it. I'm a redneck, so I'm
right.
glad I got it. All right. Normally there's two of us and we ask all these different questions. Today's going to be a great time for me because I can just keep asking you the questions I want to ask. All right. So one of the first questions we always ask is, what service were you in and why did you pick it? I know you are a Marine, because the funniest thing is I see so many bios out there of people, some have former Marines. Like, no, Marines are never former. They're always a Marine.
Always. Yep. No. So yeah, I joined the Marine Corps right out of high school in 2007. And at the time, I just didn't have a lot going on in my life. And I knew that there was a war going on. I was 18 years old. I could serve my country instead of just sitting around figuring out what I wanted to do and wasting time. I could at least put in some good work, which will help me later in life achieve the goals that I want to achieve. Like if I want to go to college or starting a business, doing those types of things. So the Marine Corps is what appealed to me the most because of, just their traditions and, the first ones in. If I was going to see combat, it was going to be with them. So
anybody in your family in the military?
Yeah. So grandfather was he served in the Navy. I had a bunch of cousins. We all joined the Marine Corps at the same time. There was 6 or 7 of us. We all ended up over in Iraq or Afghanistan right around the same time. So, yeah.
So basically y'all were in the Navy.
Basically. Yeah.
We laugh about it all the time because when I was there, I had no clue. That's what an ignorant person I was when I got in the Navy. I had no idea that, I was stationed with the Marines at Camp Pendleton, and for the whole time I was in, and it wasn't until I watched the Army Navy game and then saw the people they're going in the Marine Corps. That person's going in, and it's like, you are such an idiot. Anyway.
Yeah, no, the Marine Corps is a department of the Navy, the men's department.
There you go. Yeah, we're just a higher form of Marine life, a squid.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it's just a unique situation where being a corpsman, being around Marine, that's all I was around was Marines, and that's what I was used to. I wasn't used to a lot of other Navy people.
It's a different lifestyle, and the corpsman, our corpsman that saved my life the day that I got hurt, he got a Silver Star for everything that he did for me and the other Marine and the other locals that were in the area, the Afghan locals, who some of the things that he did we'll talk about today as well. But pretty amazing stuff.
All right, so let's get. So how long were you in the Marine Corps? So you want to start? You joined it when you're 18, and let's talk about your service, what you did, and how you got there.
All right? Of course. So my story kind of starts before then. I moved out of my parents' house on my own when I was 15. We won't get into that. That's a whole other podcast we can talk about. But I basically started life at 15. Ended up graduating high school in 2007. Went into the Marine Corps. Went to Parris Island, did boot camp, and then I was stationed at Camp Lejeune. I was with 1st Battalion, 8th Marines, and from there we basically just trained and got ready for whenever we got the call, whether it was going to be Iraq or Afghanistan. And over the next year that I was there, we just trained. We'd wake up and just destroy ourselves every single day. That was our job, to be in the best possible shape that we could to fight the Taliban.
Well, and what was your rating? Were you just infantry?
So I retired as a corporal. I was an E4. Corporal.
No, that was your rank. What was your MOS, or whatever you guys call
it? MOS, yeah. So I was an 0341, mortar infantry.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And I know you didn't want to get into it, but you're talking about when you moved out when you're 15. Most vets who go into combat, as I found, have had issues or trauma in their family before they go into the military. The military is a good place for them to go in because they feel, and then they run towards the danger, and it's because of stuff in our childhood that we didn't deal with. We've all dealt with that. And is that kind of what happened with you?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much there was just it's like certain things that like I just saw growing up, and then things I saw outside of the family, things outside of where I was at, and just like things just didn't make sense. You know what I mean? And I just wanted to make sure that I could figure things out the best way that I could, and just put myself in the best position as possible to just make something of myself.
Well, all right. So you're in the Marine Corps. When did you go over to the
So
sand?
I went
Yeah.
to Iraq first in 2009. At that time, the war in Iraq was pretty much over. We were replacing an army unit that was there on a base called Al Assad, and we were just providing base security. Didn't really do anything while we were there. Didn't do our job. We kind of just hung out for 7 months and got to say we went to Iraq, and then we came home and we got our new drop of Marines that I became a squad leader. We were going to train them, and our job was to get them ready for our next deployment. And sure enough, we were told, hey, we're going to Afghanistan. And if you remember the times, 2010, that's when we made that big push in Afghanistan, 09 and 10. And we sent over roughly like 100,000 service members. And we were a part of that push. And we got sent to a very remote location in Helmand province, Afghanistan, near the Musa District Center. And we were one of the first group of Marines that were down there. So it was new for the locals, and it was new for us at the same time. So there was just a lot of moving parts.
And so while you were there, big, for people who don't understand that period of time where we were, what we were doing, so you guys were going in there pushing, and just kind of explain what was going on, because even though you and I might know what's going on, some people who watch this or have no idea 2010 what was going on then, right, in Afghanistan.
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of people assume that our job is just to go over there and find bad guys and kill them. And that's like a fraction of what we do. Even though we're in the infantry in the Marine Corps, you're a corpsman, you're attached to a Marine unit, you're right in the battle with us. Our job was to let these people that lived in this country know that we were here to help them. Because just like here, we have 99% of the population that does the right thing, that follows the law, that wants to just live and provide for their family. It's the same thing over there, except the 1% that's bad over there is just really bad, and they do really, really bad stuff. So we needed to make it clear to the people that lived in Iraq and Afghanistan that we were there to help them. And, we were drilling wells, we were trying to build schools, like doing all these things at the same time, fighting the Taliban, finding, at least one IED a day, getting into firefights constantly. So on top of that, we were doing a whole, kind of like peacekeeping mission as well.
And I think a lot of people don't realize that that's what you guys do. I mean, there's a big push right now to rebuild Iraq and do stuff and through my rotary and other stuff. And it's like, okay, well, we were over there once doing some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And so what happened? Why is it no longer there?
Yeah. The second we leave, guess what? They tear it all. That's exactly what they did. You know what I mean? The second we leave and, we start to pull out of those areas, then the Taliban come in and they take back over. It's just like clockwork,
Right. All right. So how long were you there?
So I was in Afghanistan for right around 3 months. Up to that point, so we were running patrols every day. We had our FOB, which was Patrol Base 7171, a small outpost on top of a hill, and then we had another small outpost that was inside of a village. We had villages on each side of this larger outpost that we were working out of. We found a house in one of the villages and decided to set up a secondary post, and we would rotate sections in and out every week. Before I got hurt, November 29, 2010, that was the day that I got hurt. Up to that point in the deployment, we had found roughly 90 IEDs, and I had been involved in 3 other explosions where I was the guy in front of or the guy behind somebody that had stepped on an IED, whether they were a Marine or our Afghan Army counterpart, because we had 20 Afghan Army soldiers that lived with us, worked with us, did everything with us. They hated the Taliban more than we did. So finding IEDs and actually, we had a guy in our platoon, one of my junior Marines. I actually have it on video. I have a video of it. He stepped on an IED and it didn't go off all the way. It just blew him off of his feet a little bit, and he landed on his back. And then next thing you know, there's a little hole in the ground where the IED didn't explode all the way. Like it was like night and day. You know what I mean? Every single day we were finding one or stepping on one.
Wow.
Yeah. So the day that I had gotten hurt, November 29, 2010, we were actually in that house that I was telling you about running security patrols. And I had just gotten back with my team, and we had sent out another team of Marines to do a security patrol just around the house to make sure that the Taliban weren't putting in IEDs or, trying anything. We just, the walls of the house, it was open. So there was no roof, there was nothing. So they could chuck stuff over the walls, all that good stuff. So it was routine for us to send out security patrols. So we did that. And within 10 minutes of them being out, we hear an explosion. And right away, we know what that was because we've heard them the whole time that we've been here, like clockwork. So I pick up the radio and I wait for the call to come through, hoping that it wasn't one of our guys, that it was the Taliban putting in an IED and they blew themselves up, which happens all the time. I pray that it wasn't, one of the locals or, little kids in the village, because that happens as well. The call comes over. Lance Corporal Chavis stepped on an IED. He's missing both of his legs above the knees. We need a medevac. We need support now. We're not sure if there's going to be a follow-on ambush. We just know that one of our Marines is down and we need help. So called for a medevac. It was like 10 minutes out. Grabbed a couple guys. And just to give you an idea of the type of Marines that I served with, we sprinted down to the area where the blast site was. It was about 300 meters away. And when I got down to the blast site, we were inside of a courtyard with one entry and one exit. And I looked behind me, and one of my other buddies had sprinted. He had heard what had happened, and he had grabbed his rifle and ran through Afghanistan with no shirt on, his pants, and barefoot, and followed me. And I'm thinking, like, this dude does not care about anything at all. The only thing that he cared about was getting to his brother and trying to help him. And to me, that like, I don't know if that like motivated me in that moment, but I was like, oh shoot, I'm a squad leader. I'm an NCO. I need to lead from the front. I need to go in and get him. I need to be the one that takes the stretcher. I need to go in there, put him on the stretcher, and we need to get him out. I wouldn't feel right if I would have told somebody else to go in and get him. If I would have said, hey, one of my junior Marines, hey, I'm going to go out here and stand security, wait for the helicopter. You go ahead and get him. I don't feel like walking in there. So right then and there, I knew I had to make that decision. So I grabbed the stretcher. I had the stretcher in my left hand, my rifle in my right arm, and I started walking in towards him. I could see him about 30 feet away. He's still conscious, missing both of his legs, and quite a bit of distress, rightfully so. The helicopter is getting ready to land, and I start walking in towards him. I take that first step. I'm like, okay, good to go. I got about 30 more steps to go before I make it to him. And I take that second step. All right, good to go. I'm counting down in my head. I got 28 steps to go. And then on that third step, I ended up triggering a secondary IED that took my left leg below the knee. My right leg is amputated all the way up to the hip. I lost the tip of my trigger finger. I had shrapnel throughout my face, got a lot of my teeth knocked out. I jacked up my back pretty well, collapsed both of my lungs. My stomach was split from my belly button down. My femoral artery had been cut on my right side, where I'm amputated all the way up to the hip. And I'll never forget this. My corpsman, it's crazy too. His name's Doc Angel. So Todd Angel. Doc, it's crazy. This dude, he saved so many people over there that like it blows my mind. But he came over to me and he started working on me, and I could tell when he looked at me that like, hey, this ain't good. You know what I mean? Like, you look pretty rough, bro. And I remember just thinking like my whole life just kind of like flashed before me. You know what I mean? Thinking about what I had done up to that point, the good, the bad, what I could have done differently. It was like everything was just like crammed into like a minute, and I like remembered everything, and I was like, oh shit, like if I die right now, like this is it. This is what I'm remembered for. Which, dying fighting for your country, yes, but like there were still more things that I wanted to do and things that I felt like I could have accomplished. So I wasn't sure if I was going to get that second chance. So he came over, he started working on me. Helicopter lands. They put me on the helicopter, and I pass out, and I wake up probably like 10, 12 days later back in the United States. So I went from where I'd gotten hurt in Afghanistan, where the helicopter picked me up, which one of the docs that was on the helicopter actually lives in Pittsburgh. about 30 minutes from me, has a private practice, and we had no idea who each other were until we both moved back to Pittsburgh and met up and put 2 and 2 together. It's crazy. On the helicopter that saved my life, which is nuts. And I just talked to him today. Dr. Tom Burnett, Regeneration Pittsburgh out of Wexford, Pennsylvania. But when I got to the hospital in Afghanistan, I arrived without a pulse, and they brought me back, and then they got me stable. And then from there, I went from the hospital in Afghanistan to a hospital in Germany, where I was there for about 7 days, and then made the flight back to the U.S., where I lived at Walter Reed for the next 2 years of my life, recovering.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was fun stuff. It's a lot of people hear that story and they're like, man, that sucks. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how you made it through that. I don't know how. And it's easy to say that if you've never really been to Walter Reed, you know what I mean? You've never seen some of the men and women that were there. Like, I lost both of my legs. I'm a hip amputation, which sucks big time. But I was at the hospital with men and women that lost both legs or 2 legs and an arm, or I was at the hospital with the dude that lost both legs and both arms. Like, could you imagine losing all 4 and still being alive? Like, at that point, like, and I'm not trying to like be like funny or anything, like, in all seriousness, at that point in my life, like, I would be laying in bed and I would be like, why? Like, what's the point? You know what I mean? And this dude was getting up every day and going to therapy and smiling and having fun. And it just reminded me that, like, it could always be worse. And that's what I keep telling myself, like, every day, no matter what you're going through, it could always be worse. And I know it sounds so simple and basic, but for Marines and Navy guys like us that aren't the smartest, it works.
Hey, watch that. And well, a lot of people don't realize, because we have humor, dark humor that is ridiculous because of what things we have to deal with and where we go, what we get to. And that's how we deal with stuff, you know, in the medical field for me, and then for you as a Marine, because what you see and what you've been through. And I think a lot of people who are not part of this organization or part of the brotherhood don't understand that. Right.
Yeah. It's a hard transition, you know, coming back to civilian life as well. Like, after I got hurt, you know, I've been out. I retired in 2012, so I've been out for 12 years, and you know, I just turned 34 years old. You know, I feel like I still got a lot left to give and learn, and you know, still feel really young. And people don't like I'm just now starting to work through this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like for the last 10 years, I kind of put a Band-Aid on it and was just like, oh, I'm a Marine. I put my foot down. I put my head down. We push through it. You know, we don't PTSD, whatever. Let's go. We're tough. And now I'm realizing that, like, you can only do that stuff for so long before it catches up to you. And it finally caught up to me within the last couple of years. And now I'm really doing the hard work, trying to just get out there, you know, be vulnerable, put myself in a position to let people hear my story, and use, you know, kind of what I went through to maybe help them, because I've made some mistakes, and, you know, I've also done some pretty good things too.
So do you mind talking about the PTSD part of it for people to understand? Because we lose 22 veterans a day because of it. And my big push is for us, it's a challenge to actually reach out to 22 people a week, right? Not to do 22 push-ups, but reach out to 22 people a week, just connect with them to make sure that, because that's all they need sometimes. Yeah.
It's unreal. And, you know, what I want to make clear is people think of PTSD and they think of somebody being angry and fighting and just being all like just crazy. And that's not, like, PTSD isn't just that. You know what I mean? PTSD could be laying on the couch for 2 days and not leaving your house because you don't feel like anybody understands what you're going through, and that you shouldn't be feeling this way because you're a Marine and you're supposed to be tough, and you're laying on the couch being a little baby. Why are you doing this? That's PTSD as well. You know what I mean? So it's more than just what people, you know, the typical, oh, I'm going to drink, I'm angry, I'm going to go fight. That's not just what PTSD is. It's anxiety, it's depression. It's, you know, all of those things combined. And if you don't get a handle on it, it can destroy your life very quickly.
Well, it usually destroys every relationship you have.
Every single one. Like, why do you? Yeah. And I'm just being honest. I'm by myself right now in my townhouse with my service dog, while my kids and, you know, the mother of my children are over at our old house. You know what I mean? And it's because of we're amicable now. We were together for a decade. We have 2 great kids, a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, Remy and Gunner. But I'm not trying to like make excuses or like find a scapegoat. But the situation that I have and the struggles that I have definitely turned me into somebody that I didn't want to be, and I got lost during that. And now I'm back on the right track. Yes, but it's going to take a lot of work. But I'm just being honest. Like, I've been through some shit, you know what I mean? And it's still every day. And I'm not trying to make excuses, but it's tough. And if you lose your way just a little bit, you can get way too far.
And a lot of people don't realize, I mean, I'm just going to go back, but Vietnam vets, those kind of, they couldn't talk about it. They couldn't deal with it. They're still, I mean, my uncle, the way he is, and my dad died when I was 12 of hairy cell leukemia, and he was no offense, but a bastard. He beat the shit out of me as a kid. And, and that's when people say, well, you don't know you have no idea what people go through, and that why they join different services. It's, it's to get away from things. Usually not everybody has a perfect life.
No. And back to our Vietnam vets, I'm 100% confident in saying this, that everything that I have from the VA and the reason I'm treated so well, even though it's not the greatest, it's better compared to what 99% of people get. Everything that we have now as veterans in the medical field and disability wise and compensation, everything is because of how poorly our Vietnam vets were treated when they came home. And they took it upon themselves over the last 30, 40 years to make sure that we were taken care of. Like, those guys look up to us, which is crazy. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy to me because like, I wish I went to war with guys like that. You know what I mean? Like, I love my Marines that I went to war with, but we would all agree that men and women were built different back then. They just were.
Yeah, and they still are. I'm sorry. It's a weird world now.
Yeah,
for me.
And I'm just thankful for our Vietnam vets. I thank them all the time, and I'm sure you're the same way, brother.
Yeah, I go up to them all the time. And they're shocked, right? Yeah. I mean, I'll walk. My wife's like, because I'll walk all the way across the store because I can see. I know the hats. You know what I mean? I can just see, and I go over there and make sure. And my wife will know now. Okay, he'll be back in a minute.
Yep. So and it makes their day.
Yeah,
it really does.
Well, my son's, I didn't tell you, but he's an Army medic, airborne in Alaska. And when he traveled from, his last duty station to Alaska, he goes, he's in uniform. He's like, Dad, I really appreciate it. But there's they tell me 100 times in the airport, thank you for your service. I said, well, you should appreciate that because other people behind you didn't get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people mean it. You know what I mean? Like, they want to thank you. And like, it still feels awkward. I'm sure it feels awkward to you. Mm-hmm. Like, even I got my legs blown off and somebody comes up and says, thank you. Like, in my mind, my first reaction is I was doing my job, and like, it sucks that I don't have my legs right now, but like, I got to do a lot of cool stuff, and I'm still able to do a lot of cool stuff every day. And I'm able to surprise people and shock people and do the things that I'm doing, unfortunately, because of one of the worst things that's ever happened to me. So, really long story short, and to make something, a negative into a positive, one of the best things that happened to me, other than having my children, was the Taliban putting an IED in the ground and allowing me to step on it, because it really showed me the type of person that I can be. And it really like opened my eyes and woke me up. It might've taken some time, but it showed me that like, we can accomplish a lot. Like, we can go through it. You know what I mean? I mean, just think about it. Navy SEALs are a prime example. Think about all the BS they got to go through, and they still make it through. They do some of the hardest stuff, the hardest missions, the hardest jobs in the world. All right. So I just had to basically tell myself that this is me now. Not really so much has changed, but like, this is my life. I was kept alive for a reason. Is it just to show people that, we can make it through this type of adversity, whatever reason it is, I'm still alive. So.
Yeah. I mean, because you were given you're here for a reason. You just got to find out what that reason is. Yep. Right. And anything that the service should do differently to help vets for PTSD, right? When you retired out, did they help you at all with any of that kind of stuff, or or were you just at the point where you just didn't want to deal with it?
It's a mixture of both. And like, I don't like talking crap on the VA, but like, the VA has some problems. You know what I mean? We all know they do. Okay. But I also get my paycheck every month. You know, I also get my meds if I need them. And if I truly, truly, truly need something and I make a big enough, scene about it, I'm going to get it. But one of the, when I was leaving, it feels like the VA is always a step behind the actual like civilian medical field, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Like we're talking about like cryo chambers and hyperbaric chambers and float pods and stem cell and testosterone replacement. Like the VA
we haven't even got into that, how I got connected to you. So
no. And the VA is like, I just feel like the VA is always a step behind. You know what I mean? Like we have all these treatments out there that are proven to help vets. And the VA just isn't hopping on board yet. You know what I mean? And I feel like, especially with guys like significantly wounded men and women, not just for me, like I feel weird saying like me, but like significantly wounded, veterans should have access to this type of stuff because it does help. And it shouldn't be hard to get because it's almost impossible. You know what I mean?
Mhm. That's why I want them to do away with the VA and actually just issue insurance that you could be taken anywhere.
Why not?
Because that's why I know my wife works for Kaiser, man. Ever since I got on Kaiser, I was like, this is how it should be run. This is how everything should be run, and that's
Dude,
what they should do. They issue insurance and you could go anywhere and they pay 100%, whatever it is they need to.
I'm still paying off my son's delivery from the hospital.
Yeah.
Think about that. Still paying it off.
Yeah.
I just got a bill the other day for him being sick. And I'm just like thinking like, would it hurt if like he's my kid? I did get my legs blown off, but like I don't want to say these things because it's like I don't want to sound like I'm like ungrateful. Like I'm grateful for everything that I have, but at the same time, it's like if you're gonna do something, do it. Like I feel like if you get severely wounded in war and your kid has to go to the doctors, his stuff should be paid for too. I mean, it is, you know what I mean? But it's not like it's supposed to be, but I still get a bill. Just like
let's first just talk about the vet. The vet should be covered, period, and they should be issued insurance, not the VA system. Because my problem is you don't get the best doctors working or anybody working for the VA because they can make better money elsewhere, and that's the problem. And we don't, and that's the problem. And I don't care what people say about it. With that, if we fixed it by just getting rid of all of it and we created a insurance for VA for vets, we'd have a much better time.
I agree. And like I said, I'm not trying to bash them or whatever, but like, it's just, there's a lot of things that need to be fixed.
Dude, a government agency does not run well. Look at the post office.
There you go.
I mean,
they make
it needs to be privatized. But I'm just saying, but somebody like you, see, I just talk every time I'm on, I bring it up and I talk about the VA should go away and we should just get issued insurance. I need other people who are part of it to take that on to get it going, to get it done.
Oh, if I could afford to if somebody would give me insurance and I can afford to get it outside of the VA, I would.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, but it's a government issued insurance that every hospital, every place would take there, and I asked them, there's got to be a whole system put in place to where they get reimbursed better than Medi-Cal or Medicare, and they would take it. So,
I'm with you.
All right. So, so now let's get on to what has helped your life and how I got to you. Cause I guess you're a brand ambassador for, hormone therapy, I guess.
Yeah. So we met.
How did you what did you realize that you needed this kind of help? Let's start there to get into there. Okay.
So when I first retired in 2012, that first year or so after I retired and was on my own and not in the hospital, I felt like there's no way I can survive the rest of my life like this like up and down mood, low energy. I'm like, man, I got my legs blown off, but I still should, like, why don't I feel somewhat normal? And then we started looking into, like you said, the hormone replacement therapy and the VA, like I said, was always a step behind. So the VA was offering testosterone replacement therapy, but not in a way that was useful, we'll say. Not in a way that the prescriptions or the protocols seem to make sense whenever you're looking at it through the VA and through the civilian world, completely different. And we started to look into this stuff and look into some of the different treatments that were out there. And really, take a step back even further, where it really started was with Dr. Burnett, who I was telling you about, the doc that was on board. His practice is all regenerative medicine. So like non-narcotic, all laser, stem cell, all that type of stuff, TRT, hormone replacement. And that's when I started to learn about it. And then as time progressed, now we're in 2023, from 2012 to 2023, we've seen a huge leap in being able to order basically anything online. We're talking from any medication, you could probably get it online. You could do a doctor visit over, email or whatever it is, over webcam, and you can get anything online. So I started to look into this stuff and look into some of the problems that I was having with mood, depression, anxiety, my TBI. I have a severe traumatic brain injury. Like, it's so bad. And just remembering doing anything, the headaches all the time. And then we started looking into some peptides and things that actually have shown to help reverse the effects of a traumatic brain injury, to help with memory, to help with the fat loss, because I don't have legs, so I'm not out there walking around all day. Like, I'm stationary a lot. You know what I mean? So I'm not burning active calories with everything that I do. So it's a little harder for me to burn weight, to burn fat, to lose weight, to keep my weight down, to stay
I've
healthy.
seen your pictures. You're looking okay now.
No, I appreciate it, brother. I do. But the way I look at it, the better shape that I'm in, the longer I'm going to live.
Right.
With my situation, it's just how it is.
Well, it's everybody's situation.
Yeah.
The better. Yeah.
Yeah. So, as things started to progress, I started, dabbling in this community a little bit, meeting different people. And long story short, I ended up meeting Jason Frost. He's the CEO of Atlantic TRT. And what I want to make clear too first is he not only helped me a lot with this type of stuff, but we're talking about with life stuff. Like, the dude is very smart. He's very disciplined. He's good at what he does. And he just didn't step in and like, hey, Brandon, you should come and rep our stuff because you got 50,000 Instagram followers. We're going to make some money on you. He came to me and he said, hey, we see what you're doing. Maybe knock this off, start doing a little bit more of this. Start getting your name out there, build a brand around yourself, because you can be successful. And also, here, we offer this too. We think this might help you with some of the struggles that you're going through. And that's what really drew me to him. He's not just the type of person that's going to tell you what you want to hear. He's like a drill instructor, almost like, hey, get off your ass. Let's do this. And that's what I needed at that point in my life. So we started with testosterone replacement therapy, which is, your testosterone cypionate, basic testosterone from the pharmacy. I take that once a week, and it basically, after going through all that trauma, the combat, being in the hospital, my testosterone levels were so low. And it's a lot of guys just even coming out of the military, whether you saw combat or not.
It's a lot of guys in general.
Exactly.
You're only 30, but 30 something, but once you hit 40, it changes drastically.
Oh yeah. And people think it's normal. And it's like, if it's healthy for your testosterone level to be at a 900, between 300 and 900 is where your testosterone levels are considered healthy through the VA. So if you're 40 and you're at a 350, why wouldn't you want to be 40 and at a 900 if it's still healthy?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's the only thing it's going to do is help you perform better. It's going to help you live better. It's going to help you live longer. So that's kind of where there was a disconnect in the industry and the VA and other doctors. And once all this started to come together, that's when I really started to see a change in it. And another thing that they prescribed to me it's called CJC 1295 and IP Moreland. It's a blend of peptides, and it's supposed to help with fat loss, sleep. They've done research showing that it can help with traumatic brain injury, which is really what drew me to it, because like I said, it's bad, because even before the Marine Corps, I played sports. So like football, I was a little dude, just constantly just getting hit. It's a big problem for me. And it seems like every year it gets significantly worse. So I've noticed it more this year. So he prescribed that to me, as well as sexual health, obviously. When you're taking testosterone and stuff like that, you want to make sure that everything's balanced out. And I'm prescribed the Cialis daily, which it helps for a lot of things, not just for sexual health, but it has some other characteristics to it as well.
Well, most of those drugs were created for something else, and they realized what they did.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's I've been with them for a couple months now, and I've seen them like it. We didn't really talk about it much. We talked about it a little bit, but the last 7, 8 months of my life have been pretty rough with a lot of changes. And I was in a pretty dark place. And once I linked up with Jason and the team over at Atlantic, and we got the right things going into my body, and no more bad things going into my body, just the right stuff, being healthy, putting good food in. I noticed a change within the first month. Like, hey, a lot of my mood and everything isn't just because I'm just some weak dude. You know what I mean? There are problems going on inside of me. There are things going on inside of me that can cause that to be off. And it just took for me to understand that. And that's what I'm trying to do now is trying to help these other vets and other guys understand that, like, just because, you're 45, 50 doesn't mean that you can't feel like you're 30 years old again, and do it in a healthy way. And most guys that figure it out, it's too late. They're like, man, I wish I would have figured this out sooner. Everybody that I've helped so far, man, I didn't know it was this simple. Man, I didn't know that it could change your life this quickly. They're like, I wish I would have did this sooner. And it's just, I don't know. Jason's a great guy, and I really just appreciate everything that they've done for me.
Yeah, he actually reached out to us because he listened to our show driving in his car, I guess. And
Yeah.
and then he reached out to us, and that's how we got you on, because he was supposed to be here, but it was a lot of confusion about. So we'll have him on to talk about what they do, because it's huge. I mean, and please don't take this wrong, but you keep bringing up you don't have your legs. Well, you don't have the muscles. You don't have the extra stuff that we know most people have down there to help burn other stuff and actually store stuff and other things. And so anybody needs this, but if you've been injured, you're going to need it even more.
Yeah. That's just how it is. And like I said, it's not, I'm not looking for like a handout or to make it easier.
All right. Uh-oh. Let's see if he comes back.
There we go.
Your picture's off.
We good?
No, there you go. You're
okay.
back now.
Yeah. I don't know what happened.
Well, sometimes what happens, people's internets get a little slow, and then it kicks it out like that.
I apologize.
Don't worry about it. It's okay. Things happen.
Yeah. No, what were we talking about again?
We were talking about just the overall hormone stuff. And how
yeah. So, just getting, once I was able to get that stuff on track and get everything like baseline leveled out, it was like an eye opener big time on like how serious, like, cause like people talk about it and we say, oh, diet, like, you eat the right stuff, you feel good. And everybody's like, oh, that's BS. I can eat this. And it's really just up to you whether you feel good or not. Like, I'm telling you, if you put good stuff into your body and you do the right things, your body is going to reward you for that. And so is your brain. And you're just going to feel better. Like it's a fact. And once I started to believe that and actually see it, that's when things started to turn around for me. And I'm just on a good path now. I feel really motivated to just make a living and provide for my kids. That's the biggest thing for me right now is my son and daughter, Remy and Gunnar, just giving them the best possible life that I can give them while co-parenting with their mom. She's an amazing mom. We get along great co-parenting, and really that's the focus now.
Now you do. So let's go in a little bit more and then we'll go. So you speak a lot.
Yeah.
That's what you focus on now is speaking.
Big time.
And how do people find you? So on Instagram, what's your handle on Instagram?
So my Instagram is just at Brandon Rumbaugh. My first and last name, BrandonRumbaugh. And I'm actually signed to an agency out of New York City called Gamut Talent Agency. They represent only people with disabilities. So I do a lot of the big thing now is adaptive clothing. It's huge. And that's a whole nother thing that we could talk about, to where how it's so hard for me just to even like to get my day started. We're talking put on my legs, get dressed. From the time I start to the time I get out the door, it's about an hour and 15 minutes. And that's not talking, showering, doing all that other normal stuff. So I do a lot of like modeling, I guess you would call it, for clothing brands, Kohl's, Tommy Hilfiger, those type of people, as they come out with adaptive clothing. So I do a lot of that for work, and then speaking as well. And I volunteer with a lot of nonprofits. So Rescue 22 Foundation, a great nonprofit. They provide service dogs to vets. My service dog is through them. He changed my life. So what I do now is we get a service, or we get a veteran that applies for a service dog. And what I'll do is locate where that veteran's at and try to raise him or her that money in their hometown for their service dog to pay for it. So there's I just try to stay active in the community because it all kind of runs together, with the speaking, the nonprofit, all that good stuff.
Next time you need help on that, let me know. We can have them on, and then we can help it that way too.
That would be great. I appreciate it.
Anything at all you need from, just reach out to me and we'll get it connected. And I'm on Instagram. I'm just Ed Parcaut. I'm Ed Parcaut everywhere. So,
good to go.
But we had 22 Mohawks on, and they help get dogs to vets. And it's not service dogs, it's rescued dogs, because a lot of veterans just need a dog, and they found that once you get a dog, you don't go anywhere.
Yep.
You care about that dog, you won't leave us.
Yep.
And so there, maybe that's somebody else you can reach out to, because that's cheap, that's inexpensive for what they, for that, where a service dog is expensive. If it's
30 to 50 grand, depending on what, and sometimes guys and girls don't necessarily need or want they just want a good dog.
Right. And that's what 22 Mohawk does.
That's a good idea. I like that.
Yeah. So they're back there on the East Coast where you are.
Okay. Good to go.
So just reach out. That's what they are. 22 Mohawks. Reach out to them. All right.
Yeah. We're going to Naples, Florida, May 18th to the 22nd. We're delivering a dog to a veteran in Naples.
Cool. And then once, anything you need at all to get more promotion out there or whatever, have them come on the show, talk about what they've gone through, we want to help more vets. And that's how we do it.
Yes,
sir. And the biggest thing we run into is getting people to tell their story and how to get, but it's the best thing for other vets to hear the story, so they'll want to talk about their stories.
I agree.
Brandon, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate your time. I really enjoyed doing this. I was doing a lot of this before COVID, and then COVID put a hold on a lot of stuff, speaking. So we're trying to get back on track now. So if anybody's looking for a speaker for their event, please reach out to me on Instagram, and we'll get something set up. And I just appreciate your time, Pup.
Hey, it's my pleasure. And actually, I'm the president of our, you know about Rotary, right?
Oh yeah.
So I'm the president of our Rotary coming up, and it's my whole year is about veterans. So I'm having the guy I told you about that was on last week. He's coming out to talk about what he's doing my second week. And then I'm going to have other vets come out and talk about their story, because that's all it's about. I want to help more and more vets, because we're going to have more and more of them as they get out of the service, but we need to make sure they're taken care of.
100%. And if I can come out and help out, just let me know. I'll come out and speak as well, brother.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. And we can talk off after we're done about it. And again, Brandon, thank you so much for being here. And I want to thank everybody else for watching. Thank you so much. If you like what we do here, the easiest way to support us is just subscribe to our YouTube channel and let everybody know about us. Again, Brandon, say goodbye.
Hey, thanks guys. Appreciate you.
All right.